Mom digs through her son's grave. What she finds is shocking. A mother uncovers a shocking discovery while searching through her son's burial site. Dolores was certain that her son, Bob, who had been sent on a secret military mission, would come back without any harm. Doris's world was completely shaken when two soldiers unexpectedly showed up at her doorstep, delivering a letter from Bob, bidding farewell. She wanted to personally verify the authenticity of the letter. Despite her best efforts, Doris was unprepared for what she would discover when she opened the casket after exhuming her son's grave with the assistance of her siblings in the dead of night. After an extensive investigation, Doris and her team had finally discovered the solution to their question. They used flashlights to search through the graveyard in the middle of the night. Doris was worn out after hours of intense effort, but she remained determined in her pursuit of success. As she continued their exploration, Doris couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. She eagerly used her hands to keep digging. "We're almost there," she said optimistically, confident in her ability to persevere no matter the circumstances. After a long search, Doris and her colleagues finally heard the sound of shovels hitting wood. They discovered the casket belonging to Bob. They paused their digging and locked eyes, filled with hope and anticipation. While carefully cleaning it, they anxiously sought answers, aware that their findings could have a profound impact. They completed the task effectively and with great care ensured that the casket and its contents remained undisturbed. After what seemed like an eternity, they finally opened the lid and uncovered the truth. With a mix of fear and anticipation, she couldn't tear her eyes away from the sight of the coffin being carried away from the graveyard. She eagerly anticipated the unveiling, eager to discover the contents within. Doris observed as the lid of the coffin was lifted. She frequently questioned what lay ahead and sensed that something was not quite right. She was pleasantly surprised when she looked inside and confidently exclaimed, "I was right!" She opened the coffin. Bob knew he would join the army. His lifelong aspiration was to contribute to his country and guide the next generation. He was prepared and eager to face a military challenge. Nevertheless, Bob's mother, Doris, was opposed to him fighting overseas. Whenever she considered Bob's well-being and the potential dangers he could face, she experienced a sense of unease. She couldn't stop him, as she respected Bob's choice. She hoped for his safe return. Doris had reservations about her son's ambitious army goals, despite his excitement. Bob's dedication to joining the military only grew stronger over time. He dedicated himself to studying and preparing for army life in every spare moment. Observing Bob's deep fascination with ongoing battles and tactical operations, Doris realized she was unable to alter his perspective. He was determined to join the army, regardless of any opposition she might have. When Bob turned 18, he was eager to enroll in military school, fully prepared for the challenges and demanding tasks that awaited him. He had dedicated his entire life to practicing and was filled with anticipation to become part of it. Though she grappled with accepting her son's decision, she came to the realization that she couldn't stop him. She observed Bob's departure from military school with mixed emotions, recognizing that he was embarking on a fresh chapter in his life. Bob's exceptional physical condition allowed him to thrive in both lessons and training. His professors were impressed by his aptitude and determination. He excelled in his classes and put a lot of effort into achieving his goals. Bob's early graduation from military school was a testament to his unwavering determination and tireless efforts. Doris had unwavering faith in her son's ability to excel in the military. Although she remained dissatisfied, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride for him. Doris took pride in her son's military career, even though she had her worries. She recognized his efforts and was satisfied with his progress and the knowledge he had gained. His chances of being deployed to the front lines grew higher following his promotion. After working hard, Bob was promoted to corporal and was deployed immediately. Following the promotion, Doris couldn't help but worry about Bob's new role as corporal and the increased responsibility and dangers that came with it. Nevertheless, She had faith in Bob's safe return home, as he possessed the strength and competence of a seasoned soldier on dangerous missions. Prior to engaging in battle, Bob penned a farewell letter as a means of achieving closure. Whenever faced with a distressing situation, he always treated his letter with utmost importance, unlike certain soldiers, and never allowed anyone else to peruse it, not even his dearest companions. It was clear that Bob regarded this letter with great importance, causing concern among many of his friends. The letter had deep, personal significance for Bob, and he was determined to maintain its privacy. Options on the document varied, with some interpreting it as a heartfelt goodbye and wise reflections, while others saw it as a straightforward set of final requests and funeral details. He had no say in his selection. He was placed in a SCA with unfamiliar people, which made him feel uneasy. He sensed a disturbance and pondered its nature. As he readied himself to step onto the field, Bob couldn't shake the sense of unease that enveloped him, leaving him curious about what lay ahead. He believed a high level of professionalism and dedication in carrying out his duties as a soldier. Bob had to follow instructions, and his mission remained undisclosed to his family. His mother remained unaware of his whereabouts and activities, a fact that constantly unsettled her. As the days went by, Bob and his mother faced a lot of uncertainty and mental stress, but Bob remained determined to keep his promise. He had a clear objective and was determined to trust his instincts in order to maintain serenity and prevent any potential spying. Bob and his team were not given any information about their destination before their flight. Bob and his colleagues boarded their aircraft with their eyes covered, preparing documents that would be disclosed later. Being a rookie corporal, Bob was unfamiliar with such intense measures and questioned if they were dealing with top-level spies. Despite his initial skepticism, Bob focused on the task at hand and trusted his boss's reasons for keeping things under wraps. His team entered the plane fully equipped to handle any potential issues that would come up. His crew encountered events and sensations that were far beyond their understanding, compelling them to grapple with their sense of right and wrong in a fresh manner. They were deeply impacted by the experience of witnessing such crimes. As time went on, Bob started questioning his goal. He deeply lamented his decision to leave home, convinced that this was an enormous mistake on his part. He had always been a faithful soldier, but now he questioned if there were any alternative choices. Although filled with fear, Bob was determined to press on. Curiosity filled his mind as he pondered the sights that awaited him in this unfamiliar territory. The thought of reuniting with his mother lingered in his thoughts, uncertain of when, or if it would ever happen. His vision was hindered by the accumulation of dust and dirt during their journey to the base camp. The following day, they felt completely drained from their non-stop work over the past few days. The car came to a sudden halt due to a loud collision. Bob and his colleagues were taken by surprise when gunfire erupted and shouts filled the air. They found themselves surrounded in the car, unable to defend themselves. In order to survive, they had to act quickly. Bob's back pain struck him with a sudden intensity, causing his vision to blur. Amidst the chaos of his crew's panicked screams and shouts, he quickly recognized the urgent need for assistance. He attempted to get up, but the agony was overwhelming. His energy and awareness were diminishing, and he sensed that his life was slipping away. He reflected on his mother and the unspoken words he wished he could have shared with her, realizing he would never have the chance to express his love for her ever again. Amidst this severe ordeal, Bob fought fiercely to survive. He felt consumed by the darkness, fully aware of his impending demise. 2 days later, the doorbell at Doris's house rang. Bob's mother was greeted by 2 military officers. Doris quickly grasped their solemn expression, and it seemed too good to be true. "This is unbelievable." The devastating news of her son, Bob, being lost forever, had been a constant source of fear. The military officers had typically conveyed the tragic information that her child had been killed while serving their duty. Doris was devastated upon hearing the news of her son's passing. Once more, the the two amiable military officers came knocking on Doris's door. She was given the opportunity to process the difficult news. She allowed them to enter once she had regained her composure, and they handed her a note, a letter penned by her son. Upon seeing the letter, Doris briefly glanced at it, but was unable to decipher its contents. She placed it in her bedside drawer and kindly requested that the officers give her some space to grieve. She was taken aback and unsure of how to proceed. The funeral, originally planned for 2 days after the tragedy, was postponed at the last minute. Upon discovering the authenticity of the letter, Doris attempted to contact the military for an explanation, but unfortunately, she was unable to reach anyone. As a result, she had no choice but to patiently wait for the military to provide an explanation. She had a single question about her son's death, and she was hoping the military would provide an explanation for the delay. She came to the realization that it was up to her to uncover the truth of the situation. Gradually, Doris grew wary of the military's lack of communication and the delay in Bob's funeral. She wanted to read her son's farewell letter. Understanding the contents of the message proved to be challenging for her, yet it was crucial for her to grasp Bob's final words. After ascending the staircase, she securely locked the door to her bedroom as she read the letter from her nightstand. She took a deep breath and read it, hoping to find some solace and come to terms with her son's passing. However, what she discovered instead was truly astonishing. Upon discovering the authenticity of the letter, Doris carefully placed it under her pillow. The letter contained unexpected information that left her feeling unsure of how to proceed. As Doris laid in bed, tears streaming down her face, perplexed by her son's shocking and unexpected letter. After reading her son's letter, Doris's trust in the military was completely shattered. She felt deceived and disappointed. She was correct all these years and felt a strong sense of responsibility for it. It was a mistake to allow her son to leave. Despite her deep sorrow and shock, Doris mustered the strength to attend her son's funeral, paying tribute to his life and accomplishments. She was taken aback and furious upon reading the letter, forcing her to come to terms with the disturbing events unfolding within the military institution she had once held in high regard. As Doris looked into the eyes of the soldier who delivered her son's letter, she sensed their unease. They appeared restless and avoided making eye contact, as if trying to conceal something or afraid of being caught. Doris wondered if they had read the letter and felt a sense of guilt or embarrassment. There was a chance that the mail had been opened and the note read before she got it. It's possible that the seal of the envelope had been altered, potentially exposing the contents of the letter. Doris had a feeling of unease towards the officer and sensed that something was amiss. After the visitors departed, Doris observed that the two military officers who had been observing her during the funeral did not come forward or offer their condolences. They kept their distance from her and remained on the outskirts of the gathering. Doris was taken aback, as she had anticipated a more sympathetic or consoling response. She questioned why the two officers who had visited her home didn't bother to approach her following the funeral. In spite of the support from her loved ones, Doris experienced a deep sense of isolation after her son's funeral. She realized the importance of taking action to honor his memory and ensure justice for his troubling revelation. It suddenly dawned on her that she couldn't handle it by herself. Despite feeling powerless, she made the decision to honor her son's sacrifice. As she started the task of paying tribute to her son, a wave of emotion suddenly washed over her. Tears flowed down her face as she quietly bid him farewell, knowing it would be the final goodbye. Although she wasn't the most attentive person, Doris understood the importance of respecting her son and pursuing justice for the troubling things he said. Her son deserved a much better outcome. In spite of her worries about what lies ahead, she made a solemn promise to uphold her son's memory and advocate for fairness. She reached out to her siblings and asked them to meet her the following day. She had a plan and required assistance from anyone willing to lend a hand. At her eldest brother's house the following day, Doris shared the contents of her son's recent letter with her siblings. Her brothers were shocked and insisted on seeing it. Something seemed off to Doris' sister as she read it. siblings gathered to read the letter as a united front, vowing to support her sister and ensure that justice is served for the disturbing truths they uncovered. They aimed to put an end to this unfairness by uncovering the truth and holding the culprits accountable. Despite their best efforts, Doris's siblings could never comprehend why Bob chose to write such a devastating letter in his final moments. She allowed them half an hour to process it. They carefully read it multiple times to understand her son's intentions and confirm the accusations, all in the pursuit of justice for Doris's son. The siblings realized they required more evidence to establish its authenticity. They were resolute in their mission to pay tribute to Bob and uncover the truth, no matter the obstacles they faced. As a final option, Doris proposed the idea of exhuming her son's casket to uncover the truth. Despite her reservations about its unconventional nature and potential legal implications, she saw it as the sole means to uncover the truth and pay tribute to her son. They chose to move forward, but understood the importance of being cautious to avoid any potential controversy. Her siblings found it repulsive and felt it was disrespectful, but she saw it as the sole method to authenticate the letter. Disturbing the peace of a cemetery and showing disrespect to the deceased is a consequence of digging up the grounds, even if it is done by a family member. There may be more serious consequences if the grave in question is a military grave. Consequently, Doris and her siblings came to the realization that they needed to conduct themselves with caution and discretion. If the burial was not restored by sunrise, there would be consequences for all those involved. They were willing to take great risks in order to uncover the truth. Throughout the day, Doris and her siblings organized a schedule and gathered the necessary tools to efficiently and silently carry out their mission. Doris was filled with fear, worried that their actions might be discovered and reported to the authorities, leading to severe consequences. The brother made an effort to soothe her, understanding the importance of staying composed and driven in order to reach their objective. Everyone remained dedicated to uncovering the truth and showing respect for Bob. Despite the risks involved in the task, Doris, typically composed, was acting unusually. She required regular breaks during the night to recuperate from the mental and physical strain. She had doubts about exhuming her son's grave, feeling a mix of anger, unhappiness, and a strong resolve to uncover the truth and honor her son. She cried multiple times while grappling with her emotions. Everything unfolded rapidly, yet she was clear on her course of action. Upon further investigation of the cemetery, Doris came to the realization that their actions were justified. Their sole purpose was to uncover the truth, honor her son, and seek justice. It's unfortunate that he received such treatment despite his significant contributions to the military. Doris couldn't help but smile as she thought about her two brothers who were always there for her, never giving up. That's the objective, she pondered. Despite the challenges and difficulties, Doris was determined to fulfill her mission and find solace as a way to honor her son. After hours of digging, Doris and her siblings finally heard their shovel hit something as they neared Bob's casket. Doris gazed upon her son's lacquered wooden coffin, its surface shimmering under the light of the full moon. Overwhelmed by sorrow, she braced herself for the imminent revelation of the truth behind her son's alleged demise. Despite her worries and doubts, Doris understood that finishing the mission was the sole path to honoring her son and achieving solace following his devastating passing. In spite of Doris's initial dedication, she and her siblings managed to open the casket without being detected. As their loud noises went unnoticed by anyone, they were taken aback as the wooden lid was lifted, revealing the contents within. Her siblings were confident in their path and determined to continue their search for the truth. Doris was resolute in completing the task despite her uncertainties. She knew that it was the only way to gain knowledge. Doris was taken aback upon opening the casket doors. She exclaimed, "I knew it!" Despite her strong emotions, but a tear escaped from her cheek as she spoke, revealing the deep sadness and grief. Her brother looked at the casket with a sense of shock, It left them in shock and confusion. They gently closed the lid once more, understanding the importance of reburial to pay tribute to Bob's memory. Despite their time of mourning, Doris's siblings recognized the importance of maintaining resilience as they pursued justice. They quickly returned their son to his resting place and carefully concealed any evidence of their presence. After completing their task, they quickly left with their equipment. Doris had all the necessary information. Noticing a suspicious car approaching the cemetery, the gang quickly understood the urgency of escaping to avoid getting caught. They quickly leaped over the gate and made their way towards the truck, hoping to go unnoticed. They hopped into the car and sped off. They completed their mission. Doris's brothers accompanied her back home and bid her farewell before heading back to their own homes. She expressed gratitude for their help and willingness to take risks in uncovering the truth about her son. Upon returning home, Doris headed straight to her office to carefully document and contemplate the discovery she had made. Despite her concerns for her well-being, she understood the potential dangers of speaking out in order to assist her son and others who had been victims of corruption and injustice. She took a seat back in her desk, resolute and steady to share the story of her son's passing and the unsettling letter he had left behind. After quickly noting his findings and making a copy of her son's farewell letter, Doris realized she needed to take immediate action. She printed the entire story and sent it to her local newspaper, hoping they would publish it to honor her son and reveal the truth. She was determined to hold them accountable for what they did to her son, even if it meant taking a risk. She demonstrated to the military her commitment to pursuing justice within the city. Doris' story was published just 2 days after she submitted it to the newspaper. She experienced a mix of emotions, as she was both content and anxious, fully aware of the negative consequences that would follow if she were to disclose the truth. The officers arrived at her house on the same day as the story ran to express their appreciation and offer their congratulations for her bravery. Doris expressed her gratitude and hinted at the upcoming surprise. With a strong resolve to safeguard her loved ones, she was committed to utilizing every available means to seek justice, understanding the importance of staying alert and staying ahead of the opposition. After being questioned by 2 unfamiliar policemen in a military interrogation chamber, Doris understood the importance of responding cautiously to their inquiries in order to avoid revealing excessive details. She discreetly sent her letter to the newspaper, ensuring that her son's distressing last message would be brought to the attention of the press without revealing her identity. As the police interrogated her, she maintained a composure, fully aware that divulging too much information would put her in even more danger. She aimed to navigate the interview cautiously, ensuring she didn't uncover too much or put herself at risk. After just 15 minutes of questioning, Doris came to the realization that she couldn't continue with her deception. She believed that giving the letter to the police would be enough to persuade them. "Excuse me, Dolores interjected to emphasize her point. She stated firmly, "You will do everything within your abilities to bring my child back to the United States." As the police officers remained quiet, uncertain of how to react, Doris' pleas had to be treated with the utmost importance. It was crucial to pay tribute to her son's memory and ensure justice for his family. She came back home after the questioning with little idea of what would come next. She anxiously anticipated the arrival of the police and the military, desperately hoping for any sign that her son was still alive. She was making progress towards uncovering the complete truth, her unwavering resolve to stay resilient and uncover the truth. Despite the arduous and distressing path ahead, preventing her from losing faith in the possibility of her son returning or the attainment of justice for his murder. After weeks of waiting, Doris had given up hope of even seeing her son again. She realized it would be an unrealistic goal. She was taken aback when she received an unexpected letter from the military. They had located her son, but there was uncertainty about his well-being. As Doris opened the letter, filled with fear and anticipation, she had to find the strength to stay positive and hold on to hope. She fervently hoped that her child was safe, and that she could reunite with him, as that was all she needed to find happiness once more. Doris eagerly watched the windows in anticipation, longing for any sign from her son, her heart filled with joy when she finally received the military letter. She felt relieved upon receiving a response and learning that the military was actively looking for her son. She anxiously observed the car drawing near, eagerly anticipating the arrival of her son. Doris willingly anticipated the long-awaited revelation that was about to unfold before her. Bob stepped out of the sleek car and made his way to the front door, leaving Doris pleasantly surprised and filled with joy. She called out his name and quickly made her way to the door. Is it possible that it was him? She rushed towards Bob, wrapping her arms around him tightly and sobbing with a sense of immense relief. As he entered, Bob gently guided her aside, and Doris noticed a hint of laughter in his tear-filled eyes. She chuckled, feeling a sense of relief as her child returned home. Bob and Doris sat on the couch together, embracing each other and sharing a heartfelt conversation. Bob recounted his experiences to Doris, sharing the details of his deployment to the front lines and his subsequent capture before finally returning home. Despite his injuries and the hardships he had endured, he held on to the unwavering belief that his mother would eventually locate him, whether dead or alive. Doris adored her son for his courage in the midst of such adversity, and ultimately, she felt immense pride in him